Welcome back to Seattle. Yes,
welcome.
Yes, Greg. Welcome.
Friends, comrades, everyone, to our final episode of this podcast, because everybody, it's with great reluctance that I say to you tonight, Seattle is good.
Wait, excuse me?
That's what we would have said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, anyway.
In some sort of alternate reality.
Yeah. That was the bit I was planning to end this podcast. Regrettably, now we must continue on 2 fucking hours of content a week forever. I've been dreaming of killing this thing.
Wow.
That's on you,
For
listeners.
months now.
Yeah, if you guys had done what I told you to, did what I did, and voted illegally in every district,
You thought I was
we would have pulled it out, and this boat would be on fire right now, and you wouldn't have to listen to any of us, because
That's
we'd be
right.
sinking to the bottom of the marina here.
As an ally, I will be unsubscribing from the Patreon.
You all thought I was so invested in the Sean Scott race because I, believed in Sean's message and what people were doing. No, I just wanted this to end. Just this weekly grind that will never stop. I just wanted it to be over because I wanted Seattle to be good. So,
Well, lucky for you. This city remains on brand.
Welcome back to Seattle Sucks, a podcast about hating. The city we love. I guess.
the city we love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you already know, this is after the initial results of the general election, and we were just going to talk about all the great stuff the hits that happened on Tuesday. And I think we wanted to start with our good friend, the chair stealing.
We haven't introduced
Rampscallion. Okay, yeah, you're right. We have a guest. I'm sorry. I'm a little rusty. It's
You're
me.
Colin.
I'm Colin.
Stole
I
a chair,
think.
actually.
I think I'm Colin. Greg is here.
Yeah.
Brian is here, and our good buddy Bjørn, a.k.a. Fleksor, back on the boat.
Howdy, guys.
Friend of the boat.
Friend of the
Friend of the
boat.
boat.
Yep, Colin's been out at sea. He's got the sea madness.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like you guys are so dour, but I've been on cloud 9 because I got to play Diablo 4. Like the future's fucking bright. I don't know what you guys are.
Oh God, I'd forgotten where you've been.
I have such sights to show you.
Oh
Greg.
my God, Colin has been in
I was
Los
in it.
Angeles.
I was immersed in culture.
City of Angels.
I almost can't say it. BlizzCon.
That's right. You said it. You did it.
Colin, were you there opposing the Hong Kong protests?
No,
Were you holding up your China is right sign? Is that why you got to play Diablo 4?
I was not doing that, though. Maybe I should have. I don't know.
That's how you get the best games.
Yeah. You wait in line to play the best games. Yeah. But we're back to do some bad, awful recap of the horrible, no good general election.
Yeah, fuck it.
And to be clear, I mean, this is Wednesday, so I guess ballots are still coming in.
That's true. And
But,
the Wednesday drop, but that's it.
yeah, and the 2 critical elections, or 2 critical, seats, it does not look good.
Jim
Right.
Hugel, we're still holding out.
Yeah.
Heidi Wills. Still holding out for Heidi Wills over here.
Oh man. Yeah. Brian and I called into Better Leftcast's live stream last night. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some of you heard that. We were at Sean Scott's party. The vibe was tense, dispirited, but some, still sort of comradely. I don't know.
Cordial.
Yeah. Not in the alley where me and Greg were. We cleared that alley out.
No, there were
with
some
our-
people like.
Is that where you
like,
took the call?
There
Yeah.
were people sort of had gone to the alley to cry or
Yeah.
something, and
to
then
find
we went
a safe spot to
yeah,
have
just, be
their
alone or hug
emotions.
someone in the dark, and we came out there and called and just started screaming profanity.
you were
into a
clapping
phone.
your hands, I think, weren't you?
No, I
kept hearing something.
What do you want to bet it was the handling noise on the phone, Colin? Oh,
Back up, boys. So what time of the night is this? Just so we can paint the scene.
It's like 8:30.
8 o'clock?
it was
8:30.
8:30.
Okay.
8:35.
8:45.
Yeah, it was a little late.
Yeah, I think I got there just before then. I didn't, and I was surprised how many people there. For some reason I thought that the election results would drop a little later, so I took my time to charge my phone and got there about like 8:15, 8:20. It was packed to the gills. I brought my backpack for some reason.
Well, Bjorn, I'll tell you for a fact you got there right before me and Greg left because
Okay.
you handed me your backpack.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I
where
was
should I?
trying to-
Could you put this in your car? And I was like, no, it's too far away, but I'll put it right here in the seat and I'll watch it for you.
It didn't get
then
stolen though.
And
so
literally
it was
moments
good.
later, after deciding I'd watch it for you, I left with Greg and went to the alley.
Well, I realized it was a testament to the comradely environment that my MacBook did not get stolen, and I grew comfortable with that over the course of the night. As I left pretty soon after that too, because I realized I hadn't eaten, and I ran down to the Roosevelt Shell station.
Nice.
I completely ignored an open Taco Del Mar on the way.
That was the right move. That was the right move.
We don't have time to get into
Yeah, that was the right move.
This podcast's position on Taco Del Mar, so please continue your story.
But yeah, so I wolfed down a microwaved Hot Pocket from the Shell station so I could come back and drink, and I started drinking.
Yeah, well,
And, yeah.
if there were people, the place was fucking packed, and yet people are ordering like whole plates of food, and the servers are just like,
Fucking
get
tater
the
tots?
fuck out of my way, I have hot food here. It was insane.
Yeah.
I, like a sane person, went to the fucking grocery store and ate before I got there.
No, I mean,
Election
like,
tips.
credit to those servers. I mean,
No, yeah, they
doing
were-
the
they were on fire.
Lord's work out there. I heard them when I was at the bar waiting to get a drink. I was right by where the little servers, bussers area was, and the one guy was yelling at the cook, "We're over capacity. I don't know why. We're letting people in. We should throw people out." And I honestly was like, "Yeah, probably."
Yeah, no, it was bedlam. But I
I
guess
got tipped well though. I mean, socialists should tip well.
Yeah,
hopefully they did
They
well.
make
Yeah,
killing.
motherfuckers
Yeah.
better at tipped well.
yeah, seriously.
If you work at the Westie and are listening to this,
Let us know how the tip.
yeah, how was the tip situation?
Yeah. I guess we should get into it then. The
Yes.
results.
Well,
yeah.
I think the first thing that we wanted to cover is the initiative I-976. I believe those are the numerals, which is otherwise known as the $30 tabs initiative, and you can guess who that's from if you don't already know. It's our favorite libertarian guy. I don't even know what to call him at this point. Tim Eyman.
Burglar.
Yeah. Honestly, like Tim Eyman had me on the side for a little bit when he stole that chair from the Office Depot. I was like, maybe me and Tim Eyman do have something in common.
Yeah.
And, now he's back in the shit list.
Well, he just broke bad, I think.
I want to start my own like initiative to have the death penalty exclusively for chair theft and retroactively charge Tim Eyman.
No, see that is a good crime that more people should commit.
No, we'll repeal it immediately after Tim Eyman's executed.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, you could bring it down to the exact model number and like limit it to.
Well, I mean,
We can workshop it.
so the thing is, it looks like it's going to pass. This is an initiative. We have seen this movie before.
Yeah, this is not his first $30 tab initiative.
In fact, it's third.
Passed twice before as well.
Yeah.
And each time has been first in what 2002 or was the first one in the
99.
late
Yeah, it was
90s?
earlier.
99 and
It was
then
earlier.
2002, yeah.
And then struck down by the courts after long battles. So I have not researched this at all. I'm guessing this must be yet new language that different in some way from the original, the last ones. But I mean, probably someone will find some way to strike it down. Maybe,
Well, yeah, the city and the county are on the case, literally, as of this afternoon, it sounded like. But I'm not sure what the legal language was either. But specifically what this would do is it would cap car tabs for vehicles under 10,000 pounds at $30. Your base tax rate on your vehicle would be based on Kelley Blue Book, which is that is just like, again, like a libertarian's wet dream. And then finally, the weirdest provision is that it would remove taxing authority from regional transit authorities like Sound Transit, which is the one that really, really was
I didn't even know that.
frustrating
for a lot of voters.
Because basically, like the state got to vote on whether Sound Transit could raise money in its own, 3-county district.
Yeah.
So cool that all the other counties got to have a say in that business.
yeah. Bullshit.
And in Crosscut today, they had the Department of Transportation head in Washington. Basically, he was like, "Yeah, this is a sinking ship. Like, we're gonna start cutting things, but basically, like, we're not gonna have transit in 10 years."
Yeah,
This
right.
is,
Yeah, he said
like,
it set us
literal
back 10
apocalypse.
years. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it didn't succeed the last two times ultimately. Though I think I want to say it was enforced for a couple of years.
Yeah, I thought it was.
One.
I thought it was too.
Yeah, before finally being overturned. But but like you were saying, Brian, it's like maybe he's hoping just for a better judge.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem. It's like if you keep fighting it in court, just means that you're gonna, you're counting on a judge who's usually the dumbest but also richest person you've ever met to agree that a regressive tax is bad or that a flat tax is bad. I mean, he's gonna win that eventually. Like he keeps rolling that dice, he's gonna win that one, and we're gonna be really fucked. And I mean, the big problem is that. It's the situation. There's a situation that the state puts itself in, right? The state, by having the most regressive tax structure in the country, it makes these things. The car tabs are, a progressive tax, right? The more expensive your car is, the higher your car tab is, and everything like that. But it makes those progressive taxes like an easy target for people, ghouls like Tim Eyman, because people are fucking overtaxed in this state.
Right.
By not charging corporations any amount of taxes, by not charging rich people any amount of taxes, we have to rely on car tabs, and it makes it easy for, like I said, a ghoul like Tim Eyman to easily get this stuff jammed through.
Right, and because, so not only do people feel the taxes, because our taxes are so regressive, I mean, that's what it means. This is just saying the same thing. Everyone feels their taxes really hard in this state. But also, it means, at every level of government in the state, like everywhere in America to some extent, we just have a uniquely bad situation here with the way we get revenue. But everything is squeezed, right? This is austerity, you know? Like, so everything is just on the edge of collapse. Everything is about like, oh, well, how do we spend money most efficiently? Like, what do we cut? Like at every level of government for decades. So
it's pretty artificial austerity, and it's what a rich state we are.
Yeah. I mean, I think the King County alone has like 6 or 7 billionaires in it. I mean, it's absurd. Like,
it's insane.
But
by attacking this easily through the initiative process, by appealing to this very understandable, easy thing that everyone's like, yeah, I'd love to only pay $30.
And hello, working class people, it like does materially affect them.
Absolutely.
And and especially if you live in like a shitty suburb or rural Washington where everything is geared around cars, as is like most of this entire country except for a few East Coast cities.
Yeah,
it's like
it's
relatable to you, and you've never known effective transit, so it doesn't matter to you.
Yeah, and a huge part of your like a ridiculous proportion of your income actually goes into your stupid fucking car,
right?
Then you're taxed at that level. But the thing is, because we're so strapped for revenue at every level, when you get rid of something like this, that is easy to put in this initiative form to the people and easy to get passed, you can take a big fucking swipe at the revenue. And if that's your goal, if further austerity is your goal, if your goal is to shrink government, then this is a perfect tactic, because, I mean, that's it. They're gonna have if this stands, they're just gonna have to fucking cut, all transit basically.
Well, I mean, the austerity plan, right, is that you find some public sector good, right? You immediately work to start choking off the funding to it. Then you tell the people who are now like struggling because their funding's been choked off in that public sector, like, oh, now I also want you to engage in public-private partnerships to, so they can be run more efficiently. Which of course means that all the money now, the little dollars that are going there are now just getting stolen.
So rich people,
so everybody who fucking watches this now is like, oh, the state can't run transit, or the city can't run transit anyways, or sound transit. So the people like lose faith in the public institution, and then you come around and tell them, yeah, look, the government can't run shit. We should cut it further, right? And then you cut it further, right? I mean, this is the game they've been playing with education now for years. But I mean,
with everything.
This is how you get rid of departments. I mean, this is austerity, right? Yeah. And I mean, for people in like Snohomish who are part of the sound transit section, like they probably have a point. Like, yeah, like light rail is probably never getting out there, and like they are going to be left out of a lot of these like transit solutions. Probably nuking the entire transit system isn't, a good solution. But I mean, they have a point. But that's this is how austerity works, right?
Well, I mean, as YouTube commenter Demon Rats is pointing out on this video I've been looking at about the initiative, can we get a $30 car tab tax to prevent all the syringes, homeless crime, and poop that is Seattle?
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
It's time somebody asked that question.
I mean, like this is a level of discourse that we're dealing with, I guess. When it comes
sounds
to,
like that guy wants to raise taxes to pay for services.
I guess you have an additional $30 car tab the Demon Rats tab.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, you're totally right in like pointing this out is that like most people aren't having this conversation on the like wonk level of where I mean, this again is why austerity works so well, is because people aren't having these like in-depth conversations about like where the money goes, how's blah blah blah, right? Because they have real fucking lives and they don't think about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So instead, they engage with these proposals on these like insane levels. So you had all these people in Eastern Washington who were like, "Yeah, we're tired of paying for Seattle Transit." It's like, yeah, you never have. like you've not paid $1 to Seattle Transit. What are you talking about? Like this literally is going to defund your county, right? Like not Seattle. But that's the level of engagement, right? Because we don't actually have like political conversations, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's consistency between the like centrist establishment Dems and the right, that there is an efficiency and these things aren't running how they should run. And so there's nobody saying, well, we need this because we have to have it. Or there are very few people.
Yeah, they have a general agreement that this is really about turning knobs and pushing buttons.
Right.
As opposed to coming out and having an actual political battle and strongly saying, like, actually, transportation's a right. It should be free.
Exactly.
Or we're actually killing ourselves right now. We have to stop. But nobody will have that debate, right? Because they want to keep it on a level that, allows wealthy people to keep raking in money.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that pisses me off the most about it, the more I think about it, is the climate change angle in transit, because it's discussed in lefty circles, but it's really an underrated aspect of combating climate change.
Absolutely.
That's one of the things that I think, like, if you look at China, even for example, like, say what you will about their political system, but the fact that they're putting in like miles and miles of rail, that in of itself is a much bigger contribution to combating climate change than any like plastic straw brand, and we need something at that level in this country if we're serious about it. And it's just not going to fucking happen in this political system.
Well, it's interesting.
Just
Totally.
infuriating.
That
Yeah,
up too,
totally.
because car tabs are basically, that tax is basically a toll on use of the roads, right? And it's a vaguely progressive one, which, because it's based on the value of the car, but it does sort of in a way play into like a liberal view of how to influence the market. You can see it being used. Taxes on. I mean, this is how we use the other toll you pay to drive a vehicle is gas taxes,
Right.
And this is there's a liberal narrative that says actually we should make this stuff more expensive to influence the market, to incentivize people to, I guess, kill themselves instead of going to work. But that's obviously stupid. There are not like market incentive solutions to this. But also, we shouldn't have fucking tolls on things that people need to do, because we should just kill billionaires, take their money, and pay for it that way. So
Yeah, well, and instead of having these dumbass wonk conversations about like, well, if the money goes here, if we turn this dial, we need to have the actual serious conversations Bjorn's actually like talking about. Of like,
Well, it's like,
yeah, like.
But I mean, again, like, what am I going to do?
How are we
Like,
not going to kill ourselves in 30 years?
yeah, like, I mean, it's gonna come a reckoning point at some point, probably. But like, I don't know. Like, I always get this impulse with like shitty election results, especially now because I was actually involved in Sean's campaign, and it's like, it moves me more personally. But like, yeah, as a leftist and like knowing the history of your politics, you do kind of want to flip the table over when an election goes really shittily. And it's just, it feels like intellectually insulting to be having like debates about funding like a quarter of a rail project that'll be done when I'm 50 years old. And it's like, it just makes me sad.
Yeah.
Well, if it makes you feel better, we'll be dead, Bjørn.
Yeah, but that is the joke of this whole thing. Like, people are gnashing their teeth about this thing. This horrible man has come in and conned the voters of Washington State into repealing this tax. But it's like, yeah, it fucking makes sense. I mean, it's not. That tax is not the solution to anything. The car tabs, like, it does not raise enough revenue, and it doesn't raise it anywhere near progressively enough.
And I can't even argue with those people to an extent, because like if your whole issue is just like, I hate these taxes, it costs too much. Like,
that's right.
And I just sound like a fucking nerd if I'm explaining this stuff to you. And you don't care.
In fact, I'm going to say actually,
like, sucks.
I bet someone smart could actually break down the math, and it's a regressive tax, okay? Because again, like, a poor person is spending so much of a proportion of their wealth and income on a fucking vehicle that it's like, it's still fucking nothing to rich people who aren't spending,
Of course.
like, who aren't generally licensing something worth 10,000 times the price of a fucking like Civic. You know?
The 90 some odd dollars I pay for the tabs for my Honda Civic is a significantly higher burden on me than the $300 that some asshole's paying on his Range Rover in Bellevue.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's trash. Like, I mean, that's the problem with all this shit is that you get stuck in the weeds defending what is, stuff that also sucks.
Yeah.
And I think for Bjørn, I think the answer always, is that when you have these conversations with people, it's be like, yeah, dude, you are overtaxed. You know who isn't? Fucking every, billionaire. Say the fucking companies that like leech off you. Your boss specifically is not taxed fucking enough.
So I'm coming out. I'm pro Hyman now. I'm great.
Yeah,
we're
fine, guys. Let's all go to the Office Depot.
Let's put it all. Let's repeal all these bullshit nickel and dime regressive taxes. Let's make common cause with this weirdo, and until.
From an accelerationist standpoint,
Tim Hyman's actually anarchist.
No, I think you have to. I think you have to present like a full program. You have to present a full program that says, we get rid of these and we replace it with an extremely robust,
income
profoundly progressive state income tax.
You could probably do that like easily too, and then that's the thing. Is like Tim Hyman obviously is like sunk a lot of his time and money into opposing an income tax as well. So it's like, obviously, like, he doesn't fucking care. He's just ideologically opposed to taxes.
Yeah, he's just like a rich guy who wants to keep his money.
But
this is his hobby.
Yeah, and but yeah, like I think we probably could make that argument with like a normal person if you had enough time. It's just. It's so depressing.
Yeah, I mean,
well, it's honestly, Tim, it's disgusting that and morally repugnant that he is so well off that he can spend what is now 3 decades of his life basically just trying to lower his tax rate another like 1%. That's fucking unbelievable.
Go down in history for lowering his tax rate.
Unbelievable.
Didn't he like do one non-tax related thing that was about like?
He's also anti-affirmative action.
Yeah. He occasionally he'll occasionally stray from taxes to like. Make it harder for gay people and people of color to get jobs.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because that's what the referendum was related to. It was a Tim Hyman initiative.
Yeah.
Oh, the other one?
Yes, it was related to a Tim Hyman initiative.
Of course. Wait, how is that one doing?
That one was repealed, I believe. Or
well, that one was
really
basically the vote was to repeal affirmative action, and I think it was that they voted yes on doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, to outlaw affirmative action by state agencies.
Yeah. To be clear, what went through was no on affirmative action.
This is a great day for like your like big brain like white cousin that watches South Park.
Oh yeah.
And is like all about it.
Yeah. The giant brain meme on Twitter.
He's not racist. He just like voted for both of these Tim Hyman related things the wrong way. And
well, in case you hadn't gathered yet, the news is bad. We're gonna get into the city council races here. I think one thing that whatever people have had a lot of takes, but I think there's been a lot of sort of a hopeful thing I could get behind is people saying like, well, okay, we need to like keep this momentum and put energy into something. Of course, that's shit people say all the time when this shit goes down. I think if we wanted to start naming that something, I would say a real good candidate should be a Washington State constitutional amendment to make not only
to make Tim Hyman get pants to
not only remove the prohibitions on income tax, but to make them constitutionally mandatory.
Throw rent control in there too.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. I mean, but like that, because we got to go back to the beginning. I think none of this fucking matters until you take their money away and you give it to everybody else. Yeah. Like power needs to change hands. So. That if you're wondering like what needs to go, that's the only power aside from like violent revolution. It's gonna be that's what we've got is taxation, and we don't have it right now in the state.
Well, I'm part of the Tim Hyman Bakuninist bomb squad, so we're all getting tattoos later. But maybe before we get into that hot take, we should maybe go over a little bit of what happened on election night, which. Colin, do you have results up or anything? It doesn't really matter.
I do.
The point is that Sean Scott's down 16 points, which is bad.
Yeah.
Shama Sawant's down 8 points currently, which is bad.
Yeah.
But it is around the margin in 2013 that she came back from.
Yeah. So basically,
so Friday we'll know.
Yeah. So the results came in, and I mean the narrative has been the smart money is all said because of past performance in this town. and this is generally true everywhere in America, but in this town especially, late ballots, I'm sure you've heard this a million times, tend to break pretty heavily left. Still, the initial results were not what we were hoping for. It was not what anyone's dream. I was very prepared for these candidates to be down on election night, but kind of, a lot. Now, the Wednesday drop came in. I've got those numbers up from King County, and that, if I'm reading this right, brings Shama within 7 points and Sean within 15 or close to that. So closed by a point today. We can absolutely expect those races to get closer, and like Colin was saying, in District 3, it's a margin that Shama has closed before with the late ballots. It's happened, so it would seem to be like the basic common wisdom would be that it's on the outside of her chances. She could come through in that race with a squeaker, so I remain optimistic. Because who knows, maybe, we don't know. This was a different race than there's been in the past, too, so we don't know how that breaks, really, actually. This could be different in a lot of ways. So who knows? She can make up 10 points from election night. That's a real fucking long shot, because that's a lot. But, that's who votes late.
Everyone send a love bomb to Shama and Sean's campaign right now.
Hell yeah.
Let's get those late voter numbers in.
Yeah. Well, and everybody that worked on those campaigns too. If you know any of those people, say what's up to them. It was definitely not obviously what they were hoping for, and it's bad. I mean, these are both it's a long shot and an extreme long shot.
They're all really dedicated people, and some
really good people.
Yeah, no, I worked on Sean. I made and maintained Sean's website for the campaign, and I watched it basically from last year, go from just one press release and just bit by bit, it had become a thing where I would see posters all around my neighborhood, and just I met so many amazing people who came from student backgrounds or years of organizing to come and work on his campaign. It was really a beautiful thing to see everything come together, and I only wish I'd been more involved, honestly.
Yeah, I also, I've been just volunteering, knocking doors for the Sean Scott campaign, so I've gotten to know the crazy kids who ran that operation a little bit, and they're all super dedicated, but just really impressive fucking people who just gave everything to do this. And I think they did the things to be they should be proud, because
definitely
Sean and they ran just a fucking wild campaign. This is why we're so emotionally invested in this and so excited about it and hopeful, because Sean Scott came out and said, things that were bold. He had a vision for the future of this town on a lot of subjects. He, that this is what we all wanted to see on the council, and that's why this is hard. This is a hard result to swallow. But
yeah, and if we could sit on District 4 for a second, I mean. Yeah, I think what you saw was so unique in the fact that, the person running, had any amount of bold vision, right?
Yeah.
The fact that he was
a point-by-point plan for this.
Yeah. Well, and for a city council candidate too is pretty uniquely charismatic, right?
He's a good guy.
The second you meet him, you feel like you have confidence, right? Or whatever, right?
It's funny, I felt like I knew a celebrity. I would hear random other friends I'd know from a music scene, or just daily life, and you hear about Sean Scott. It's oh yeah, no, I work on his site. He's a good guy. It's oh yeah, I think I saw him the other day. He was riding a Lime bike. He's just he's just your friend. He's a friendly guy in the neighborhood, and he's just really fucking smart.
Oh yeah, and when you talk to him, not only do you feel oh, I have confidence in Sean's ability, but he makes you feel he has confidence in you or something, right? You feel good being around him. I mean, that's a unique feature, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nobody feels good being around me. That's pretty unique.
But you combine that with a program, with a seriously bold fucking program, from everything from
Green New Deal,
the Green New Deal, fair tax code, fucking police abolition,
making the
and
city more
the real shit,
accessible and equitable.
Real shit about actually he led on building public housing, something this country fucking like dynamited in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, and that thing that also that you hear so much from conservatives and liberals alike is
Yeah.
impossible to do, right? And I think that's the thing about Sean was that he was not engaging in this dead end sort of neoliberal language of the impossible, like, oh, we can't do that, we can't do that. And I mean, the other thing that was unique about him was that he had this, you know, movement of people behind him willing to do the hard work of getting somebody who doesn't have a ton of Amazon money behind them elected, which is knocking on doors, all that kind of stuff. Now, the sad part is on the other side of that ballot, right? You have a literal photo stock image of some guy taken cut out of an ad.
Yeah.
Never shows up for anything. Didn't even have a fucking election night party, so I'm not convinced he's an actual human being. So he literally was like, it was the Buster Bluth strategy. Don't appear in public. Don't talk to anybody. Just stay home. Let us spend money on your behalf. And so he was just a stack of, you know, corporate money, right? You know, from Tim Burgess's PAC, from Amazon, from everybody, right?
Yeah.
And it turns out that when you have a uniquely charismatic candidate with this whole network of people behind him helping to run his campaign, with this like bold vision of the future versus a stack of money,
Yeah.
I guess it turns out the stack of money wins. And
Yeah.
I guess we found out
That's like-
exactly what a council seat costs, right? I mean,
And that's
because
what's really worrying me because it's like it's not necessarily like we've seen Shama pull it out like a couple times there, and I'm like I'm hoping, but if both of them, if neither Shama nor Sean gets through, I'm gonna be pretty fucking demoralized for a little bit.
Yeah.
I have to figure out what to do with myself, but because it just feels like because it's just kind of, at least like having one socialist on the council and like trying to find like another one. You had a rock like okay this is possible, but if both of them are gone, then it's just like, okay, yeah, I guess they can just buy an election. Fuck it.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
And I mean, honestly, like if Sean had lost to like Ari Hoffman, it would honestly feel better because I'd be like, well, at least Ari Hoffman is out doing work and has like a vision.
Yeah.
Right. Like at least I can understand why the fuck people voted for him. It's because they're awful. Whereas this, it literally is just like, no, he's random against a stack of cash. And apparently, you know, a stack of corporate money is this siren call to all the like, you know, millionaire homeowners,
Like small
and
business
fucking
people,
District 4
yeah.
and small business people, and they just flock to it. And I think that was
Real quick,
what we
fuck
found
you
out.
to like anyone that like runs a sort of cool business on the Ave that had an Alex Peterson sign. Like,
Fuck that.
Like sorry. I mean, I'm not gonna go into it. It pisses me off as I live in the U District and like I see those signs every day and like I don't know. I'm sure some people just like just vote based on like oh you see a sign and then it says semi-reasonable
Well,
shit.
that's the thing.
And it's just like it's
That was always their campaign from the beginning.
petty
Was
bourgeois nonsense.
just be
Totally.
the kind of default candidate for people who aren't paying attention, who are just comfortable white homeowners who are get their ballot and their King County voter guide and just go, this one looks normal. This one sounds like bland. That's I guess this is the thing I do. I check this box here, and I know that's the case because if you did actually talk to these people on their doorstep, people who days before the election had no fucking idea who was running, and were like, "Oh yeah, I have my ballot. I'm gonna look at it someday."
Cool.
And they're in their fucking mansions in Roosevelt. Real fucking easy to convince them that Peterson was a shit stain and that Sean Scott was like a uniquely serious and inspiring candidate who had was willing to talk about things in a way that wasn't the same bullshit that you hear from neoliberal politicians generally.
it's a pretty easy sell, honestly. It's just it's
super
turning
fucking
apathy into like caring about something basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many knocks
Proving you
against.
to why you shouldn't be apathetic. That's the argument. I feel like there's not many people except for like small business tyrants and like personal friends of Alex Peterson that were really that passionate about Alex Peterson.
No.
Yeah, how could you be really?
Wonk nerds. I ran into a canvasser of his and his field director out in Roosevelt. I knocked on the canvasser's door as the field director was coming up, and I got into it with them on the doorstep. I was like, come on, guys, tell me why Peterson. And they're like, we don't want to do this, but I baited them into it anyway. Yeah, they're such fucking losers. And it was so funny. They're like, well, you know what? We just
Nothing for my kids, man.
all they had is their lame-ass talking points of like, oh, well, it's really important. We need someone who can actually get something done. And I was like,
What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah,
I'd
hate
actually
that.
like to get this, and this done. And their comeback was they started talking about Shama. And I'm like,
Yeah, she's great.
so
Yeah, we
like
all agree.
how she wasn't like willing. She had the state legislature was there waiting for her to come and like
Friends that
parlay
can
with
still
them,
afford
and
to
she
live
just
here
wasn't
because of
doing it.
that.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
what the fuck are you even talking about?
They don't know. They don't know what they're talking about.
And it's like that's the case. They had nothing. They had nothing. It was so easy. But that's how many people are just like they knocked this campaign in the general knocked on fucking 60,000 doors.
Yeah.
But you can't. Most people aren't fucking home.
Right.
So you drop your lit, and that's what you get in the end.
Well, and I think too, Alex Peterson was always going to get the support, even though he would never show up on any of it, of like the TV news or whatever, which
Yeah.
is much
Oh,
much
yeah.
more likely to
The
get at
Times.
home. The Times, etc. Right. And I think it shows the sort of array of forces stacked against these candidates, right? That even the Stranger managed to backdoor itself into an Egan Orion endorsement over Sawant, right? That it's this sort of
horseshit.
it's this sort of uphill slog for all these candidates. And I think when I bring up the point of like it was a stack of money against a real candidate, and the stack of money won is. When you're playing this game that's set up by, those in power, by the capitalist class, right? You shouldn't be shocked when they're able to win it, right? When when they set the rules that they're able to win. And it's a game that is largely based on money and media access. And traditionally in political science, like that's how you determine who wins elections. You don't look at ground game or anything like that. You just look at who spent the most money and who has the most media access.
Yeah.
Media access, and that person will win.
Yeah. Well,
And,
that's the context that we should. If you're going to sit back now and try and analyze, these results coming in, that's the context that you need to bring to this. That we live in a capitalist society, meaning capital has the power and the priorities of our society benefit them. Okay. And so if electoral power is going to be anything, if electoralism is a goal of any kind, it can only be to use our bizarre and stupid democratic processes to wrest some kind of power from that capital class. And that's the context. The game, it's rigged. Like we already have. This isn't some balanced thing that we're trying to like tip to one side or the other. We live in a totally capital dominated society, and that is incredibly true of this city. And so, that's I think when we woke up this morning and got on Twitter, we're kind of just became confused as to some of the takes out there. And I kind of just want to break down like
Confusing ones.
there's just a lot of like
we'll
Zen,
leave some names out of it, but we can
there's
go
just
over
a lot
them.
of like Zen Seattle takes like that somehow want to have a positive spin on this, like losing is winning basically.
Yeah.
And I mean that they wouldn't represent it that way. And I will get into some specifics actually, but I think there's like basically two narratives that I find really weird. And the first is like adding up the horse race of like who's on the council now. We didn't even go over the rest of it. It looks like in District 1, Herbold will, is close, but she'll barely come out of it basically.
Despite Phil Tavel having that amazing music video, which
Yeah.
I really do think pushed him.
Tammy's looking good.
Tammy Morales is looking really good,
Yeah.
and that's a good win. That's a victory there.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's one.
Andrew
going on?
Lewis in the 7th is down, but
Like
again,
20
not
votes? Really?
by much at
Like
all.
20 votes.
Yeah, like extremely close.
Oh, that's
and
this
so-
district, right?
Yeah,
that's
it's
this district
DC.
here.
Okay, yeah. He's the Maoist one, right?
yeah, exactly. His cadre is in the hills of Magnolia.
I met some of his gorillas before.
Yeah, so like he like down a few votes now, but like expected to that again the just basic common wisdom says that he will come out ahead of Jim Pugil there. Stan Strauss will come out in D6 ahead
Heidi Wills. Yeah.
of Heidi Wills. So people are looking at adding up the numbers and going, okay, if again, because these are even Shama is a long shot. If these results stick, the common wisdom at this point, that Shama loses to Orion and Scott to Peterson. People are adding up the votes and trying to say, well, you know what? We've still got a progressive council here because we're going to have Tammy Morales and we're going to have... what now? I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, what planet are you living on? What progressive council do we have?
What is your idea of progressivism?
Yeah, I mean, again, that's a perspective thing, but it's like, I think it also just misses the point. It's like, I think maybe you can say, okay, with Tammy Morales there and the sometimes reliable Lisa Herbold, again, like that's but a real mixed bag. I mean,
no, that's the thing. It's like I don't know, like I like Tammy a lot, but I remember in particular she wasn't fully comfortable being labeled as a socialist, and not that it's like these shibboleths matter, but like I don't know. I think she'll be a great seat on the council. I don't think she'll be nearly as courageous as a Shama Sawant.
Yeah,
and
and you know what? Maybe she'll surprise us.
If she was, like, I would welcome that. Like, I don't want to throw stones at her at all, but it's just like. What we've seen in Shama Sawant and what I've seen like from talking to and like being around Sean is like uniquely different than just like a left-wing like progressive liberal in their analysis alone. Like you kind of play the liberal game by like being in the system and you can't have a way out of it. But like I don't know, I like intimately know a lot of like SA people, and like their take on electoralism is not just like the social democratic take, like, oh, you're going to reform your way to revolution or whatever. You're going to reform your way to socialism. They inherently see it as like you have to continually push it. You have to continually push the system to its limits, and it's kind of useless, I think, in the long run, if you don't have some cognizance of that in your electoral campaign.
Yeah.
Well, what I think
you need to push the system to actually serve the people, and inevitably it's going to hit a breaking point. But you have to keep pushing.
Yeah, but I think exactly key to that.
You can't negotiate it to like some happy middle place with the capital.
Well, exactly key to that. I had made a point on Twitter when I woke up this morning. Everyone was rage tweeting or whatever. But I was just looking at the national results that had happened, and there was these like huge wins in Virginia for socialists, right? And I just was like, hey, maybe people in Seattle should admit their politics are a lot more right wing than they think, and that other states aren't like hicks or whatever that they think they are. And, I got some guy immediately in my mentions going, look, those people in the South have a long way to go before they catch up with us progressives here. And I was like, well, weird, because in the South, they just elected 2 socialists, and here, we didn't,
Yeah.
But beyond that, he kept saying this language of like, they're still trying to catch up with the minimum wage that we passed. And I'm like, who's fucking we, motherfucker? You just unelected the person who fucking did that. Like, are you because they live in this insane vision. They're like, oh, those progressives on the council would have definitely gotten around to that had someone not been there. And it's like, no, that's not what happened at all. This is this revisionist history that Democrats constantly create.
She scared them shitless. No, it was great. No, like I remember the discussions before that, and everyone was just sort of twiddling their thumbs about like $12 an hour. Honestly, like myself included, I did like seeing Shama's success as like someone in like their late teens, early 20s was something that really made me want to like look more into socialism and really pushed me further left. So like, I don't know, like there's things I agree with her and disagree with her on, but like I'll credit Shama Sawant as like a local like role model for a socialist, someone in my community that made a difference.
Yeah,
and I think that's incredibly significant.
Well, and the kind of pushing that she did is not the kind of pushing that the people who are going to be in council are going to do.
Well, also
she brought people into, like, she didn't get this pass through maneuvering, right? She brought people in to yell at the council until they passed.
SA people are crazy dedicated
to yell at them.
Yeah.
And people hate that, but like that's how they get shit done. Like they're crazy fucking dedicated, and it's like I don't know, like being around them, it's like I don't know if I can put myself on the line this much, but it's like it's inspiring to see, and you need people that are that dedicated to really get shit done sometimes.
Yeah,
and like she embraced building that kind of movement, and that's why she's so hated. That's why like Seattle Times opens its coverage today with a slight at her. The Sawant trailing. Oh yeah, and incumbents keep their seats. Yeah, they all want to see her crash and burn because it's like every fucking hick like YouTube commenter hates Sawant and thinks of her as emblematic of like broken Seattle politics or like pins and needles on the ground, whatever the fuck, because she got shit done. And
well, I mean, let's bring it back to these races where, again, we have some in some races the better candidate is coming through, the more progressive, the people who are better on housing are coming through, but without building on Sawant being there, without adding to that with Sean Scott, what you have is a council that, I mean, you can split these people different ways. You can look at these seats like one's, pro-business, progressive. I think it's really hard to know without to say that any leap forward has been made here, because I think at best, without like the strong like momentum of someone with like Sharma's record, what makes us think we can do any more than we've done in the last few years here? Like, can this new council do they have any hope of passing a massive progressive tax on business in this town? I'm going to guess not, because it's not what most of them were desperately running on.
It's not their model of politics. Are they going to open the doors and use their seat to allow people to sleep over on the council floor as a protest action? Probably not.
No, it doesn't seem like it, because that's not the kind of movement they were trying to build. Are they going to work to build, are they going to work like hard and come together and form a block that pushes through like public housing, rent control, fucking permanent supportive housing? Are they going to do that? Like, I don't know. I think what it looks like to me is, at least with the current mayor and this kind of split council, like nothing happens, which again, coming back to the perspective here, we already live in a capitalist dominated country and world and city. So the benefit here of not changing, of not moving forward with extremely bold action like progressive taxation on corporations, that is a win for capital, for Amazon. So if nothing gets done, which is my guess, then that's a win for Amazon. They don't need so this is the other, I think, basic narrative that I'm hearing that really confused me today, and that's that Amazon was beaten in this because they dropped $1.5 million into the race, and they picked the chamber picked sides, and they didn't win them all.
Yeah, just the one they really wanted.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that is the most galaxy-brained fucking take. I mean, you just wonder what possible drugs you could be on to fucking look at this and be like, what a huge victory.
Yeah.
Like Amazon came into this with, one goal and then a couple other things that they, hey, if we can get this too, we'll get it. And that was unseating Swan. It looks like they might do it, right? And I mean, the big problem too about this, that is what I think people really need to ram through their heads, is even if Sawant comes through with the last second win and skates by with by the skin of her teeth, even if there's a huge surge that gets Sean Scott in there and he gets by the skin of his teeth, the lesson is to Amazon, hey, it looks like to win a council election, it just needs to be $2 million.
Yeah, exactly.
You put a price point to it.
Yeah, because they've that's literally what they've done, right? Is they dump this money in. And they
barely any.
Yeah, which is literally not even the money in Jeff Bezos' shoe. This is nothing.
This is nothing. They're fucking stingy. They wanted to buy this race on as little, to the dollar. All right, nothing left on the table. They didn't want to spend any more than they had to, and they may end up doing exactly that, because if what it's looking like is what they will have bought was taking down the two bold left leaders who were leading with vision in this race. Two socialists. And,
reasserted the dominance of capital in the city for the price of $1 million, which I guarantee you, Jeff Bezos has accountants who've stolen more than $1 million from him, and he hasn't noticed. This is nothing. And again, like I said, even if those candidates won, even if they skate by the skin of their teeth, the lesson for Amazon is going to be, we'll just spend a little more next time.
Yeah.
And I guess this gets us to the sort of impossibility of electoral politics when you have inequality on the level that we have. The idea that, elections or democracy can function in a society like this rests on the just astounding belief that the wealthy and the privileged won't use those resources that they've amassed to protect their position, that they won't utilize them against people who would come to maybe redistribute their ill-gotten goods. And I think what we've seen in this election is of course they're going to do that. And they did. And, it gets hard to imagine, how are you going to combat that playing their game? Because all right, we just got to hit the ground harder next time. Okay, well, they'll just drop twice as much money into it.
Literally, easily twice as much.
We'll hit the ground harder. Okay, we'll drop 20 million into it. They're still not even feeling it, you know? And so it's one of those things of like, this is the impossibility of reform in this system, right? And I think that I think on the left, and this is, you know, not to criticize in any way what people did, because I think in those campaigns people did great stuff, but I think we need to have like a little bit of post-game analysis here of, you know, what's the value of putting our eggs in the electoral basket, and where does working class power actually lie?
Absolutely. And like one of the things that gives me hope is that like let's say like if Shama is unseated, that's they're not going to completely like dislodge like that pebble from their shoe. Like all our people and like people like you and I, people in DSA are still going to fucking be packing out at the city hall. We just won't have the same institutional support. But if anything, like, you have to keep that sustained effort. I mean, like, otherwise, like, what else do you have? Like, that's the main reason why they've like hated Sawant so much, is because they didn't have this problem before she was in office. They could have just like nice, civil, like boring meetings where people were engaged, just knew like, oh yeah, I mean, they're vaguely progressive. We live in a progressive city, so I guess they'll vote in my interest. And they want that back, because like they all say the same progressive shit, but like, there was no trend of left challengers actually holding them to it in any real way. Yeah. And there were no people that were yelling at them and like yelling specific demands for them to live up to. And they could just sort of like live on the margins, like saying progressive vagaries. And they want to get back to that.
Yeah.
We have to let them not go back to that.
Yeah. Well, it was like unavoidable, you know, in the past 6 years or whatever, just reading the complaints about Shama Sawant from people in city council and city hall, that she was dragging them kicking and screaming to what, you know, reforms we actually did get. And I can't imagine what kind of brain pills you had to take this morning to think that those same people now are going to like continue this, like picking up this mantle. No, of course not. They're going to go right back to the comfortable lives they are. Although I will say, we have proven on Twitter today, the city has one unexhaustible resource, and that's extremely comfortable liberals who just smugly pat themselves on the back as everybody gets thrown out of the fucking city. And, you know, one of the big problems with this election is continuing things as is, or things getting worse with regards to housing and gentrification, means that having the struggles that we need to have, like you're talking about, Bjorn, is going to get a lot more difficult, because a lot more of us are going to get forced out, which was the other response I saw on Twitter, which I found much more sympathetic, which was people asking seriously, am I even going to be able to live in this city anymore? Yeah. And I think that's a serious question.
Well, I think to put it in a different way, like I was getting into this, I was going back and forth a bit with our friend Paul Constant on Twitter today, and I guess the realization I came to was like, that it's really a matter of perspective. Like, if you're trying to spin and take a shot at Amazon because, look, they spent this money and they threw their big weight around and they couldn't cross all their finish lines. I guess there is like a narrow point to be made there. I don't think it's one that speaks to me at all, or that, because what I see, I have a different perspective. What I saw in this race was what was up for grabs was real like forward momentum.
Yeah.
Like we have this national historic figure of Shama Sawant. We've pushed for, she and her movement have pushed for reforms in the city. They got 15 now. They've had these fights over the head tax, these confrontations with Amazon. There's a narrative that then this election could have gone forward, could have moved in a forward direction, okay, toward bolder, bigger programs from Shama and Sean, and dragging the, relatively more progressive council along. But that's not, so that was what was on the table for me. So that just Amazon not like picking up every win is not a win, because the loss here is losing the potential, what I was fucking out there for, what I was emotionally invested in this race for. I mean, that is what we've lost, and what is left then is Amazon and business exactly where they want to be.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing too, which people are wildly overestimating in that kind of, this sort of vision that you kind of pointed out is, okay, so, this holds as is. Sawant and Scott both lose, particularly Sawant losing. What's the message that our progressive city council is going to take out of this? It's going to be, oh shit, Amazon can fucking unseat you.
Yeah.
I mean, the message to them is going to be like, we better back off a lot of this shit that pisses off Jeff Bezos.
Or when
us.
Amazon steps up again in another fight and starts throwing their weight around.
Yeah, we better listen.
They're going to go, okay, well, if I become the next Shama Swant, if I stand up to them, I guess, they're going to work extra hard to unseat me. And I barely fucking made it this time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, what's the lesson here other than don't stick your head out?
Yeah.
Right. Don't become a target. And I mean, it is this truly astonishing thing. And I think that, again, for all these like smug, we actually won takes, it was just, heartbreaking to see these, people having these like serious conversations about just fuck, this is like my last chance to not get fucking priced out and all this kind of stuff. And, just like a personal story, as I was leaving the Sean Scott party, my girlfriend was texting me and going like, hey, can you pick me up like a hamburger or something on the way home? And I was like, yeah, cool. Why don't you check the bank account to see what we got in? I have $1.50 in my bank account, right? Dude. This is like real Seattle shit, man. Dude. Like, and
I was there all last week, man.
Yeah, it's like so many people live like
haven't
this.
Paid my fucking mortgage.
Yeah, and so many people live like this, and the thing is that everybody here is like pretty much on the edge, and celebrating this like some sort of fucking victory is. It's just like unfucking fathomable. Like I don't even understand the fucking planet you must live on.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I said earlier today, like on Twitter. If the common wisdom holds here, where this is going to go, the best candidate in the race will have lost to the worst.
Yeah,
Sean Scott to Alex Peterson.
Yeah. So literally non-appearing. That's like fucking unbelievable.
Who will be something. A nothing in the campaign will be something on the fucking council.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because this is a guy who has worked...
He deleted his blog.
Half his fucking life in City Hall.
Yeah.
He has the institutional connections, the experience. The only thing he ran on was he's the one with the experience. That's what he's got. He can use that to fuck shit up. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's going to do his best to make sure.
The chamber, okay?
Yeah, he's going to do his best to make sure the chamber gets everything they want. Like, I mean, those are the guys who actually will be fighting on the council. I don't know that means be fighting against it, but
And in District 3, the most important candidate in this race, a literal national historic figure, will have lost to a fucking joke, like a fucking flash mob king and a stack of money.
Yeah.
And
who doesn't even have policy or ideology at all behind him.
And where is Amazon? Did they suffer those heinous defeats I just mentioned? No, they don't, because they don't need a radical agenda enacted. Their goal in putting this money in buying this election, wasn't to roll their chamber-backed candidates in to enact a bold capitalist agenda. They don't need to do that. That's where we live. So the status quo is us getting fucked by billionaires still. So they have lost nothing. There is no defeat here. I don't see what the downside is for Amazon here. They're fucking, if to the extent that it was really even emotionally on any of their radar at all, if Bezos like read more than one line about it, they're popping champagne right now.
And I mean, and to sit there and gloat that like Bezos spent the smallest amount of money ever and lost like one or two campaigns he didn't care about. This guy just spent $80 billion on a divorce just so he could fuck his friend's girlfriend. Like, I don't think he cares about that $1 million. Well, I think he's perfectly happy to fucking spend more.
It's another perspective
and again,
question.
if you don't see that, I mean, I guess you're right. It is a perspective question. It's whether you think the status quo was good or bad.
Well,
right? If you think it's good, then I guess we won. But if
money,
you think it's bad,
is one thing. Like this is one thing when you really get into it with people who don't know shit out knocking on doors about taxation. People don't understand people cannot fathom the sums of money that are numbers you have to keep in your head if you're going to understand how our society works. People will talk about this election like it was this record-setting amount of money for a city council race, and it was but that's not the question. That's not the relevant number here. The number is how much money do these fucking rich people have compared to the rest of us and compared to what they just dropped in this city council race? And it's fucking nothing. If they haven't been doing it up to now, it's just because people like Shama Swant hadn't been making a fucking fuss up until now, okay? So now they're stepping in with this enormous power that absolutely dwarfs, like, the sun to the fucking moon, the power that any of the rest of us have. And that's where we're at. That has not changed.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing that I saw repeatedly was this suggestion that the big loss for Amazon is that they tip their hand too much, and that by getting involved in these elections, especially sort of towards the end, they built this coalition of the more progressive members, and now this whole PAC thing is on their radar, right? Which, like you said, Brian, is absurd because we saw how every one of them, except for Mosqueda, reacted when the head tax was going to be repealed. And the threat of money is far greater than any agenda. And as we also know, they have no ideology. So, of course, they're just going to fold if somebody says they're gonna throw money at unseating them.
Yeah, but the question is, are you going to stand up and stick your head out, like Sawant used to do, to oppose PAC money, or are you going to line up at the trough to get the money? It just blows my mind that people think they're not lining up at lining up at the trough to get the money.
Let's give them a little more credit. Give some people the benefit of the doubt here. That's not really even what's at stake. Even Sawant in there had to fight tooth and fucking nail and mostly got very little done except passing 15 now, huge fucking win. Passing the fucking employee hours tax the first time before Capital bothered to get into the race. Before Amazon bothered to lift their cheek up and fart.
You mean when Jeff Bezos made a phone call to our progressive council and every one of them folded fucking faster than
over the weekend, and they all used their time at the council to just apologize.
They literally wrote a fucking letter of apology.
Cowardly shit.
I fucking forgot about that shit. They wrote an official city letter of apology. These are the people that these fucking morons think are gonna do anything.
Don't even have the
these
fucking
people
gall
really
to-
want to do some good things. What if they do really want to stand up in the? I'm sorry, it's not all 9 of them and the mayor, and they don't have the state legislature behind them, and so I'm sorry, it doesn't matter. Even Sawant was very limited in what she was able to get done. So that even if there are people, even if they want to stand up, great. Maybe we'll have some more people who are willing to stand up in the moment and be defeated. Okay, it's hard for me to believe any of them will stand up as loudly, as passionately, and build a movement in the way that Sawant was able to do. But maybe some of them will vote the right way sometime. But that's not,
sometimes,
that doesn't matter. So
right?
what?
Well, that is to me what I was trying to underscore is a great loss because, of course, we've talked about for as long as the show's been on, basically, how absurd it is that the council has been painted as Sawant's plaything when she is notoriously the only good vote of the whole fucking council on all kinds of important things. And I think, as Bjorn mentioned, it's it's voting the right way at all is important, even if you don't move the needle. And I don't think we'll have anybody that will vote the right way when it really matters.
Yeah, or enough. Or enough. What if
certainly nobody that you have the confidence in. But fuck it.
That's how a fucking small legislature works. You can fucking...
Sure.
You take turns voting 4 to 5,
Which, by the way, how's that SPOG contract going to go now?
Exactly. I mean, not a single one of those people voted the right
probably
way.
Probably something you want to consider. But,
fucking Andrew Lewis was wishy-washy on it at the fucking...
well, after this result, I guarantee he's not going to be wishy-washy anymore.
Exactly.
On it,
Well, again, we don't know, but it's not going to be enough to... It's not going to be a lot... It's not going to be any slight to Amazon or, frankly, the fucking cops in the end. I want to touch on another thing you brought up is this idea of the backlash against the Amazon spending.
Yeah.
I was getting ready. If last night had gone well, I was all set to unleash a take denouncing Egan O'Ryan and Alex Peterson et al. For claiming that they lost because of the backlash against
which he tried to do before the ballots dropped even.
Bro, no, they've been saying that. They've been going like, "Oh man, we never asked for this money. We did." Well, they did on their chamber fucking interviews and forums.
Boo-hoo. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was ready to be like, "Oh, if you hear them, put your fist to your eyes and go."
It's not my fault someone dropped a comically large bag of cash at my doorstep.
But that's if they had fucking handily lost. Okay, that's what they would be saying. That's what they. Well, it's really because of Amazon. It was the backlash against all that money. But what's fucking insane is that, and this isn't as popular a take, but it's out there. It's saying like, well, like you're saying, Amazon has crossed a line here and pissed people off. I mean, I was ready to say, no, yes, it's true. Anecdotally, some people who are clued in may have put a bad taste in their mouths. Yes, it was a good talking point for the left campaigns, for Sawant and Scott especially, going like, look, Amazon has dropped this money. It's a good talking point among many others, and I'm sure anecdotally it had some effect, but the idea to stand here and say that effect, knowing just how the reason you use this money to reach out, like I was saying, and get these people who are just fucking absolutely uninformed and just by osmosis are seeing the fucking ads and the mailers and just voting on name recognition. The idea that the backlash could even be understood by any like appreciable number of people, or that they have more insane, that it would have a larger effect than the intended effect of spending that money, which as we've touched on, is well known to have the deciding factor in elections. Just be claiming it now.
Yeah. I mean, this idea that corporate PAC money or something like that, or spending in elections, doesn't work, or it leads to backlash. It's like, well, then explain the world of fucking advertising to me then. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, the reason why companies spend money is because it works, and it's just living in fantasy world.
I think sort of intruding in democracy angle is a little different, but again, it is ultimately a nuanced thing that most people are not going to clue into. It's anecdotal, but it's not like a mass effect.
Yeah, I want to see like Egan O'Brien like losing the election, just like going to be like a Christopher McCandless, like fucking like austere existence, because he just like the shock of getting all that Amazon money just affected him so deeply, and now he just wants to live a simple life. Like,
The other thing that's interesting about that is we're definitely hearing some people say like, well, now this new progressive council that will now all be embittered against Amazon and will form like a block against Amazon. I just
it's very Manichaean to me. It's very superhero. I'm playing dolls. Like I'm projecting my superhero understanding of how power and the world works onto this city council.
It only tracks, that only maps to the actual reality, in that the chamber did endorse 7 candidates and they did use the money spent by Amazon, and then there were other, there were 2. They created effectively an Amazon slate by doing that.
Right.
But that doesn't actually track to like anything beyond that, just mathematical reality. What's interesting though is people say the first thing they could do, this block, is try to enact some legislation to limit PAC spending in city elections, and it went to the Supreme Court, like pretty famously. Anthony Kennedy's decision in Citizens United pretty clearly states that any and all corporate money is protected under free speech and cannot be infringed by the government. Like, which is
a case law going back to the 70s too. I mean, like, it's going to be pretty hard to like push that through.
I mean, it's not even if you pushed it through somehow. I think. I think it's a non-starter. I could be wrong. Maybe. I mean, I'm not a fucking.
Well, do you think it would be a symbolic vote, like with the city income tax that was passed, that also has notoriously gone to the courts?
I mean, I think,
which again is just basically political theater.
Well, I think. Sure. Okay. Maybe. I think either. Yeah. If everyone gets together as a block and says, "Let's pass a symbolic thing," again.
What's
that's no loss for Amazon. Like,
that's literally just jerking yourself off at that point.
That's man.
I mean, that's a scenario someone could come up with for fun, I guess.
It sounds like something that would happen though, like a completely non-binding, like censure of Amazon. That's the kind of like bench players on the Amazon.
Yeah, I'm not actually even stupid enough to have thought of that.
thank
because
you.
That's
There's a
definitely
reason I
going to
don't talk
happen.
on the show.
because the more like basic likely thing is because this is an obvious like legal non-starter that is why it would never get passed or anything. And if it did, obviously, like it would not at this point in the current paradigm at the fucking Supreme Court. Like you're either going to need to amend the U.S. Constitution and specifically the First Amendment or get a whole new fucking Supreme Court and overturn this. Possibly, hey, that'd be a great way to overturn it.
By the way, given that Democrats don't even bother appointing Supreme Court judges anymore, good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
They just leave that to the next
happens,
guy.
Listen, when
Out of
Joe
politeness.
Biden is elected president and he packs the court with communists, then
Because they're the only people he remembers since they're all from the 50s.
Yeah, then the Seattle City Council can pass
Hell yeah.
a law that prevents corporate spending in elections, and it can go the Amazon and the chamber will sue. It'll go all the way up to the 75 member all communist Supreme Court, and
it's going to consist of like William Z. Foster, Eugene Debs, like Big Bill Haywood. Those are the only people that he remembers.
This is what like David Horsey thinks the city council under Sawant has been. And, like, I wish.
It's
like,
crazy.
Yeah, that would rock.
I genuinely wish like she could be like as badass as like the people that hate her on local news are.
Yeah.
But it's just like it's really like okay, no, she just pisses you off because she has people that like yell about real issues, and she passed like a few good things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the like grand scheme of things, the stuff that she passed is certainly all great and everything, but the grand scheme of things isn't like a huge, it wasn't like a huge attack on Capitol or whatever. Yet this was their response to it. It's like, well, what do you think would happen if you like had an actual huge push, right?
Yeah, they won't
like
let-
housing as a
yeah.
human right or whatever. Like they just wouldn't let it happen,
Right.
That's the thing. To think like here, like, oh my gosh, Amazon crossed a line by the business community. They really by blowing this up like the most expensive election spending ever. No one gives a shit.
Yeah.
Your little wonk brain can like get up in arms about it, but it's like most people don't care because it's really they barely did anything, and it's if you really try, the more you try to take their fucking money and power away, the more they're going to hit back at you, and they haven't even started. They haven't even fucking started. They don't. I mean, this is the least they could have done. They did the absolute least they could have done in a thing that really doesn't matter to them at all, and they did basically just symbolically to just like, oh, that's the one person's annoying.
Well, and to shout out to Day for having like the only good Seattle media take on Twitter today. Losing Sawant would be an enormous loss, and that is absolutely a win for Amazon.
Yeah,
And to think anything else is fucking
whatever
stupid.
else. That's the thing. It just boils down to that. I mean, end of story. Don't put away your ledgers.
Yeah,
like stop
abacuses,
trying to divine
set them aside,
make your super friends cast. Like
They're gonna fucking kiss, man.
None of it actually matters. Yeah, they fucking won.
Yeah.
So I mean, they haven't yet.
Yeah, that's right.
Still
There is a glimmer of hope.
We're talking
for
about
sure.
this scenario for, what this common wisdom scenario here, but anything can happen. Again, even in the Sean Scott race, even in District 4.
No, I mean,
well, what happens if Van Helsing gets to Alex Peterson before he can join the council?
Again, the common wisdom is Sawant could squeak it out barely because it is the late votes.
She's done it
break
before.
At that. She could have done it before. The late votes do break left. The thing that could be different. I mean, if you think about it, any scenario, and it's one that I had bought into, that said that Sean Scott could have won this race at all ever, is one that was up against all this fucking money, this bold, charismatic leader, and a cadre of young, weird, passionate people got out in the streets and fucking just banged down the fucking doors and blew out a fucking campaign, making headlines, showing up all around town to change that race, to make this a different fucking calculus. So, if that was ever going to happen, maybe this is this is what it would look like. It would be because you got you changed a lot of minds, and the numbers look different. And so maybe that's what this race is. Maybe this race fucking changes by 20 points.
Who knows?
I don't fucking know. Probably not. That's an extreme long shot at this point, but
Yeah. But then we have to ask the question, what do we do when Amazon spends more next time?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
well, should we?
this has been fun, everybody.
Yeah. A ton of fun.
Yeah, the thing, when you emotionally like invest in something to try to like maybe bring meaning to your miserable, lonely, shitty life, and that thing falls apart, you're left with your miserable, shitty, lonely life. And so it's sort of a double hit, you know?
Yeah. It's not been great today.
Yeah, I've not had a good day.
Yeah. Well, on that note, we do have one patron to thank.
Hell yeah. Great.
So
Things are looking up.
Yeah, we do appreciate you. Heidi, thank you for being a patron.
Heidi, I guess
Wills?
it could be any Heidi. Could it? Oh,
Heidi Wills.
We know from the
Heidi
email
Wills.
it's Heidi Wills. Yeah,
It
we
must
know
be,
from the
yeah.
email address. We know what Heidi it is.
Yes.
And it's Heidi Wills.
It's definitely Heidi Wills.
Thank you, Heidi.
Well, it's only because we supported her campaign from the beginning.
Big
Where do you
fans of
think all the
Strippergate.
Patreon money's been going?
Yeah,
that's
that's
true.
not Amazon money she's working on, guys. That's Seattle Sucks Patreon money.
And I did get some breaking news while we were recording. Our good friend Casey, friends, I guess I should say, Casey and Nora have just had a baby boy.
Oh,
And
another of our blessed patrons.
Their baby boy will share a birthday with Greg.
That's right.
So it's quite
Amazing.
a
That is
miracle.
unfortunate.
So baby Moore, we're sorry that most likely Sawant and Scott did not come through, and we did not make a better world for you, but you're in good hands with your folks, and we're doing what we can. So
Yeah, for now.
on that note, thanks for listening. Bjørn, thank you so much for being here.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you for working on Sean Scott's campaign and being, cool and real and legit.
Keep the faith, as Cornel West would say.
There you go.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not genuinely, like, you got to stay organizing. Like, I'm not great at it. I'm pretty spotty about it, but like, there's always something else there. Like, there's a lot to be pessimistic about, and I can't think of a good like success win platitude off the top of my head, but I mean, like, it's not like you're gonna stop doing organizing work. It just fucking sucks. It's like a lot of things in life. Like,
Well,
Yeah.
the campaigns are over, but
Yeah.
the Tim Iman accelerationist party is just getting started.
oh yeah,
So
Yeah, in conclusion, this election is like a lot of things in my life. It sucks.
we keep going. Yeah.
hey, but the show sounds like we got material.
Yep,
Yep,
the show will
now
go
to
on.
the end of time until we roast and die and fall into the sea. Our
I mean, like,
ashes.
As people always say, like, at the end of the Bush years, like, when Obama's in office, like, are you guys going to run out of material? And it's like, yeah, like, this show might have ran out of material if, like, there was one more socialist on the council. And, like,
There would be no more stupid editorials to read, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again for being here. And yeah, thanks for listening to this.
I'm sorry.